Here's our first shed of 2016. Right on this trail, and behind us is the bean field. This is a south-facing slope where the camera's coming back, and this is the first one. You've seen it right along with me. I say the bean field up there. They come back in here to bed, and left part of his rack. Well, we'll look around and see if we can find the other side, but highly doubtful. Here's a south-facing slope. We found sheds in here prior in other years. Northwest wind would be coming. But what I wanted to do was show you people. I put my hat, for you people that bought non-typical hat, it really works good in shed hunting because you can take that hat off, put it on your tripod or on a tree right where you found the shed, and then you can sort of scout out from there and you know where the shed was. So a lot of people were asking me why the orange hat and bow hunting. Well, there's a good plus side to it right there. You just leave it right on top of the tripod and right over the antler, and you can see that for quite a ways away. That way you know where you're at and coordinates to the shed antler. I'll show you what I got going. See, there's the hat, the tripod, and the shed. Now you go into that thick area, you can always see your coordinates right there and scout out accordingly. Well, here we go. This is what's really neat. We're out here, it's February 5th, cloudy day, walking this deer trail. This is a classic. We found this shed, small 8-point, and I was wondering if that was the one I found the other side the other day. I don't have it with me. And if you look right over my shoulder, there's the other side right there. Yeah, there was the first side of that small 8, and we're going to step this off in yards. It was 1, 2, 3. That'd be 10 feet, 9 feet away. There was the second side, laying just like that. That's pretty cool. Right on a deer trail. Right on a deer trail. There you have it. First matching set of 2016. And ladies and gentlemen, I found one matching set last year, and I spent numerous days and hours and miles. When you find these, I don't care how small they are, they're all gold. But you know, the main reason I enjoy this is because the exercise that it gives you. And after this fall, hunting with Matthew Jessen, I realized how gifted we are to be able to go out and traverse the timbers of Iowa on our own. I know Matthew would be side by side with me if he could. But so every day you can go to the field and walk about, whether you come back with anything or not, you are a lucky individual, man or woman, to have the health to be able to walk. I've walked now for probably an hour and a half, and so far this is my reward. And I tell you what, these are priceless. These are God's art, and to find them, no chew marks, get after it, stay the course. Physical condition is your main asset. If you are out of shape, get in shape, because you're going to have to put the miles on. And what a better reward than knowing that this could be at the end of the trail. Kid standing in the front yard. It's 12:32. I drove up to the gate and I'm standing right there. It's either too cold to run or too froze, I don't know. But Looks pretty cold. Well, what you just witnessed is an example of wildlife. That deletes all that hokey-pokey bullshit that these so-called deer experts and pro staff people want to talk on YouTube about wildlife and what they do. Just because they're scheduled in their life as humans are. They stop at red lights, they go at green lights, they go to bed at a certain time every night, and they show up at work at a certain time on a scheduled life. That doesn't carry over at all in the wildlife world. Because if it did, you'd only have to go out on one day and shoot the biggest of the best, and you'd be done. So that ought to delete anything that they're saying, because they can't do that. Thank God. But right there is a good example. Wildlife out wandering around in the middle of the day in February don't even run off from you because they're so stressed that they're not going to burn up any more calories. Bedding areas, like I said, the deer's going to bed where its comfort zone is. You're not going to create it, and you're not going to keep any deer at any given time on your property for any given time. If you got a 4-strand barbed wire fence, that ain't going to keep it in. So all these so-called deer bedding experts, yeah, they're full of something, and it ain't stuffing, it's bullshit, because deer are wild. Men have bedrooms. And when I was young, I had many bedrooms, because I would bed down with several does on several different nights. Same way as the wild buck. So when you think you're going to have the buck come to his little Bucky's bedroom because you did some hinge cutting, you're only fooling yourself and making the timber look ugly. Just like me. Ugly! Okay, we're out here on February 23rd, 2016. We're up here in an area that will only come in this area basically once a year. There's no reason to come up here. This is where the sanctuary, if you'd want to call it that, is. This is one of them on this particular piece of property. And so there's no reason for me to even come up here. This is where I want the deer to call home. They can gravitate in here and out of here without any human intrusion. Notice the wind is perfectly calm. It has absolutely no wind. I don't know if that branch is in the way or not. Get that out of the way. But anyhow, you can see in the background that orange flagging. And there's a purpose for that. It's on my walking stick. Now, you seen the other day I had my orange hat on, and I could put it up there on a tripod. Find my antler as I go back and get my camera. Sometimes that camera gear gets pretty heavy and cumbersome to carry around, so I'll just leave it at the trailhead and then mark where the antler is and then go get the camera, and that's what I've done here. So let's walk up here to where this antler's at and see what it looks like. Like I say, I won't be back in here, you know, more than twice. If I don't find many sheds today, I might come back. They seem like they're holding them longer this year. But you can see the flagging, the purpose of the flagging. And, you know, if you can find that was probably last year's, I'd say more than likely. But if you can find that, you're focused really good, you're looking really hard. And because we're going to unearth that right now. And it's been gnawed on. But that's a trophy in its own right when you're shed antler hunting. Yeah, it's been chewed and done its purpose of recycling to squirrels, but that's still a trophy. And like I said, you've seen how it was leafed over and it's been there for over a year, or at least from last year. And so I found last year's shed that I didn't find this year, but that's the way it goes. But if you can find that, you can find the real deal, because it'll be laying on top of the ground. But just remember, you got a walking stick, put some flagging on it. That way, if you got to go back and get your pack, you can find your way back to the shed pretty easy. By the way, today is my perfect day. This is the day if I had a full-time job or work for somebody, I'd be calling in sick. There's no wind, cloudy, and you can see what you're seeing there. See how white that sticks out? But that's just a mere stick. But any of that white will catch your eye on a day like today. And that's why I really love cloudy days. Because that just sticks out like chrome in a junkyard. But if this would be shiny, all these leaves would be glaring and you'd have a hard time seeing that. So try to go, in my opinion, on a cloudy day or any time you can go, but I think you have more success. I'd have never found this guy probably on a full sun day. Well, there's a dead one from years past. Looks like a doe. That's been there quite a while. Wasn't this year, that's for sure. So at least you're finding things. You got that skull there. I don't believe it's a buck, but we'll see in a minute. No, it was a slick head. Well, found that. Jawbones. Wasn't a very old one. Well, that's what you're out here for. Whatever you find. You can notice these trails. There's not any fresh tracks on them. They were really run up and down through here at some time when the dirt was soft. We had a lot of rain there, very little frost. But right now, the deer herd is not in here. And if you're scouting for antlers where the deer herd's not, you might be on a greased pole. Here's some natural hinge cutting. See that tree there, and that tree behind it. What happened with this big oak, fell upon those, bent them over and took them to the ground. That one snapped off, but you can see it's dead now. But and it gets at that little break up to where if a deer, I suppose, wanted to get in there and lay under there, it could. And but that must have made a crash when that tree fell. Mother Nature had her hinge cutting. I think you're better off to leave it to her. This hillside that you're looking at faces southeast, all up in there. This would be the warm side of the hill. The wind would be coming this way out of northwest wind. The sun would rise over there in that horizon. So this would be the warmest thermal side of the woods right in here. And I'm going to pan around here real slow. Big ravines, deep ravines. Fairly open, but out of the wind. And when we get back over here, you can see that that's the clover field down there at the bottom. And these deer would tend to bed up high with that sun and then gravitate down there at evening or whenever. So far we haven't found any antlers on this side though. Notice how steep that is. That's almost 90 degrees. And this trail here, coming up through here, ain't a whole lot better. You want to check these areas where they cross those ditches, because that's some extreme horsepower has to be applied. And guess what? That's not only 90 degrees. I get to go down in there. If you see that camera bag down there, it's down at the bottom of there. I set it down on the ground and it took off on its own scouting mission. So, stuff can happen in a hurry out here, folks. So you got to be careful. But check these real steep crossings. I mean, that's straight up and straight down. You can see it's really been hammered. But those deer will put a lot of horsepower, or deer power, trying to climb up and down there, and they could be thrashing around quite a bit, especially if they were slipping and sliding. and they could knock those horns off. Well, found another small dead deer. That one's just shot this year. There again, I don't know what brought it to its demise. I haven't been up here. It's the first time I've been up here. And I'm standing right here, and I'm going to go right over here. You should be able to see a tree stand right there. That's about 25 yards away to the victim. Now, I'm not going to make any speculations. All I know is that's a 6-month-old deer. And I don't know. Oh well. Nature reclaimed one of its own. Well, this is where I never go during the hunting season for sure. This is so thick you can't even hardly see through it. You can't see very far. You'll never be able to shoot very far. You hunt on the perimeter of this, and you can see there's quite a few trails. You can see they trail up in here. And but that's Molliflora rose, hinge cutting by Mother Nature, back there in the back. I mean, if you don't have this on your property, you don't have an element of cover. And this is thick, thick, thick cover. Not very many humans are going to penetrate through that unless they have a blood trail to follow. But just show you some of the density. I mean, it's like that all around you. So, if you don't have that on your property, you might want to try to create some of it. Nature did this for me, you know, like I said, and there's trails to it, so we're going to traverse on up it through here looking for sheds. Well, we found a little one. A little one's worth of gold. It's, let's see, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, 2:30. 5 hours. 5 hours we got this guy. That's pretty fresh. I've seen him on video. Not very big, but he was like a 6-pointer. Anyhow, 5 hours of walking right on the trail after walking through all that brush. That's shed antler hunting at its best. And don't ever let any of those clowns on social media tell you that they got a system. And, you know, they want to schedule everything. There ain't no scheduling in shed antler hunting. Get off your fat ass and go walk it off, and you might find this. That piss you off? Good. Prove me wrong. Get out there and exercise. 5 hours of walking to get that. Yeah, like I say, oh, it's just on an open trail. That trail's running straight east and west, wide open. Well, there's something I haven't found in 2 years. I shot at a turkey right there, and you can see that autumn orange arrow in there. I'll take you back up this path. I looked and looked and looked for that arrow. I couldn't find it. I shot right out of that blind right there. The arrow, turkey was on the road, and it went right down through here. I hit the turkey, and it kept on going. That was 2 years ago. It'd been spring of 2014. And I found it today, right there in the grass. Right there. That's pretty nice. I'm gonna pull it out of there. Should have a 160 grain thunderhead on it. Yeah, trying to get in there to get it. Oh, you'll see it right along with me. There's the 160. Yeah, I know that's been there for 2 years. Oh, Yep, the things you find shed antler hunting. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been walking now the last 3 days, approximately, well, 17 hours. We've been out this morning. It's 10:30 now. We started at 8:30. Walked for 2 hours. And you know, I always talk about hedge apples. And right behind me, I'm going to show you a good example of why you should look, you know, why hedge apples play a role in the natural food of deer. And what you're going to see a small antler underneath this hedge apple. I couldn't believe it. It's out in this open area, and like I said, right before your eyes, there's a little antler laying behind me, and I'll get out of the way and zoom in on it. Right there it is, laying right there at that tree, base of that tree, and it's amazing. And it's an older one. Yeah, it's an older one. It's been here for a while. It's been gnawed on, but with a small deer. But nevertheless, I assume it was dropped while it was eating hedge apples. So check those trees out. And like I say, this may be small, but after 17 hours, it's gold! Yeah, you can see how open it is here. And who, just by wandering up through here, would think you'd find an antler at the base of that tree. And that's what makes antler hunting really equal. There's never ever going to be some kind of man-made manipulated scheduling of where you're going to find antlers. And you're sure not going to dope a deer into dropping its antlers. And that's a good thing. Yep. Yes, sirree. What you're about to see here after 17 hours, we just found that small shed underneath that hedge apple tree, and this is February 25th, and I walked on up here, and you're not going to believe, but this is antler hunting. This is why you cannot let this take you out of the game. You have to control what's between your ears. You have to have more power, self-control. You can't hire a personal trainer to do the exercise for you or to motivate you. And here's what I'm going to show you, and it's phenomenal in my world. Maybe not in all of it, but in the non-typical Norwalkian's world, this is what makes me tick, because it's just phenomenal how this can come about in such a short period of time and in such a short distance of all the acres that I've traversed, and within a few minutes I've not found gold, but in my mind it might as well be, because it's just like gold. Okay, we're going to unearth this together. I can't believe I stumbled upon this sticking up out of that ground. The sun, there was a situation where the sun might have helped me. It's not my, like I've told you in the past, it's not my ideal day to look for sheds, but I'm going to have to start being more responsible in the real world, unfortunately, and get some productive things done. But anyhow, we're going to unearth this. It's been here a while. You're going to see this for the first time. First human hand that's touched this. Unreal. There you go. It don't get no realer than that. That's been there for a couple days, probably a couple years, but fortunately it hasn't been chewed on. That's quite a trophy in its own right, and you got to unearth it right along with the non-typical Norwalkian. Now, here's the other part of phenomena that blows me away. Right here where that antler lays, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there's another one. 7 yards away, we found some more white gold. And there again, that's a fresh one. And it's not big, but I'm sure I got some video of it on a camera somewhere if we didn't erase it. But that's phenomenal. How close you can find them and how many miles you can walk and not find them. Then all of a sudden, boom, they start popping out of the ground. don't give up. Well, folks, I don't know how to explain this, but here's a fresh shed, and I'm going to bring the camera up and show you. And it took a lot of its skull plate out with it. That's amazing. But here again, it's right under a hedge apple tree. So I'm going to get the camera and move it up here, and you'll be right with me when we pick it up. Yeah, this is pretty phenomenal. You can see the hedge wall where it's been eaten, and right there's the hedge tree. And this is the first human hand. And once again, right along with the non-typical Norwalk, and you're retrieving it. And look at how much of that skull that was taken out with it. Wow, that deer must have bled bad. I mean, that's a lot of bone right there. I mean, you're talking, there's a good 1.5 inches, possibly 2 inches that came off of there. But I'm sure I've got that somewhere on a video. We'll go back in the archives here this year, and Deb will research it. But the main thing is, look at how much of the skull that come off with that shed. Unbelievable. Well, I'll tell you what, that's shed hunting at its best. Looking and recovering something like that. So maybe we can scout around here and find the other one, but man, that had to hurt. Yeah, I'm going to take this antler that we just found, and I'm going to throw it out there. And you're going to see how hard it is to see this antler on a sunny day. It'll probably just be transparent. I'll just give it a toss. Now, it's laying out there, but you see there's no shine on it. And right there it is. And it blends in there pretty good with that grass. That's why I actually like, if that would be a cloudy day, that little bit of white would pop. But on a sunny day, all that grass and everything, in my opinion, works against the guy. But we just found one that the sunlight was directly on it, and I probably wouldn't have found that small one without that aid of that. So, oh well, shed antler hunting at its best. Keep on keeping on. The next footfall is where you're going to find it at. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one good thing about having a bright sunny day. I'm approximately 20 yards, and if I back that camera out, you can see this was the back side of the dam, and you know what it once looked like. But this is the 26th day of February on our shed hunt, and there's something, I caught my eye over there. You can see it right in the crotch of that shadow, just something white. And let's walk over there and see what it is. There it is, right there. And if you can, that other little white part right there is a matching set of spikes. Unreal. This is unbelievable. I found some matching sets before. This is the first human hand, right along with you. I found this, and right over here, the other side. That's the smallest set, matching set of antlers that I ever found. Now, being these are so unique, I think I'm going to run to my nearest outdoor real estate salesman and splash this all over Facebook and say, property for sale. Look at the tremendous sheds that I found. That seemed to be status quo today. You know I ain't going to do that. But this is such a trophy. I mean, to find that small of a set means your eyes working pretty damn good for 66 years old, and means that you're still looking. Because if you can find these dudes, you can find the big mothers too. Unbelievable. These are priceless. A fresh matching set. Unreal. Just unreal. Yeah, we're here on the, like I say, on the, today it's the 26th day of February. Sunday will be the 29th, which will be the end of February. And this is our bounty, as you've seen so far. Now we're just getting started. March should be better because I think a lot of the deer are still holding their bigger antlers. I would like to go over one topic real quick with you, why I got your undivided attention. I was at a meeting the other night, and there was a grandfather there. And for no better word, he was bitching about why his grandchildren should have to buy a deer license. Well, I could sympathize with that gentleman, but you know, $28 is not a whole lot of money. And I informed him if he gave him $1 a week, 52 weeks in a year, it'd be $52. That'd more than cover a hunting license. But what I'm trying to get at, all these antlers in front of us were a form of deer hunting. You know what it cost us? Nothing, other than taking the time out of your day and 21st century modern day lifetime, put up the smartphone, the Facebook, and all that other menagerie, get your grandchildren by the hand, go to the woods, take them hunting. If they find one of these, they'll be hooked on hunting, and it won't cost them anything. But that's just another form of entertainment. Taking your granddaughter, your grandson, and them finding their first shed would be priceless. And there again, there's no cost acquired at all, other than the human cost of the grandfather or the father of taking time with their children. And if they can't come back empty-handed on a shed hunt, believe you, there's no way they can spend a half a day in nature and say they got nothing for it. Because just being outside with their grandfather, traversing up and down hillsides together, that should be reward enough. And if you find one of these guys, or like I say, the smallest of the small, that'll be entrenched in their memory bank for an entire lifetime. So don't let financial woes keep you from taking children outdoors. If there's a will, then you'll find a way. Well, that's it from the non-typical Norwalkian. All right, we got this shed home with that extraordinary part of deer skull with it. And if we measure right there at the base, that comes out at a 4 7/8 inch base measurement, right on 4 7/8, exactly 4 7/8. So that's almost 5 inches of mass around there. But what amazes me with this old deer buck skull I found years ago, it was a shed buck. If I bring that bone down there, that's what's pulled off of this, if this much bone, same amount of bone would have pulled out of there, that would have been into the brain cavity. It's just amazing how much bone mass would have came out of that, and what size of cavity would have been left there. It's like, I can't believe that deer didn't succumb to death. But apparently it didn't, because I didn't find the other side and I didn't find the deer. But it had to really bleed a lot, because just that's right over the eye socket that bone would be coming out of, right over the brain cavity. That's amazing. And now that I got it home, if I measure that, you've got approximately, well, not approximately anymore, that's 1, 2, there's 2.5 inches of bone right here that came out of that the skull of that deer that shed this. That's phenomenal. And then, while I'm thinking of it, for you guys that are thinking you're really cool with these antler traps, here's what could happen, and you can see the blood stain on there. If you were to get a buck entangled on that, where this part was ready to shed, but the part where the bone was apparently as strong as bone. So you could really damage a lot of deer by them getting their antlers caught in a shed trap, and it could actually kill the deer. And it's amazing with that much bone, 2.5 inches of bone coming right off the skull, that this deer didn't die. And I guarantee you it is probably going to grow something really freaky next year on its right side, because I've never seen that much bone ever come off of a shed antler. Because like I said, this part was not ready to shed. And that's why a lot of guys aren't finding a lot of big sheds this year, because they weren't under a lot of stress and they're not dropping. And this was, I have no idea whether they were headbutting or what they were doing to break that off. But that's a lot of bone. So just keep that in mind when you think you might be in the tune to do any trapping of antlers, because you could actually kill the deer. And I might find this deer, not this deer, but the deer that had this on its head, I might find it dead, because it had to have a massive wound. Well, that's enough harping, but just think about that every time you think about having a shed trap. What could happen to the deer? So that's it from the Non-Typical Norwalkians Laboratory.